Most people don't realize how fast a life can fade until they're holding someone who trusted them to protect it. Jason found her in the rain, bruised, bleeding, barely breathing. Her badge was cracked, her voice was a whisper. And when she used her last strength to say, He did this," Jason didn't ask another question. He just looked up, and the man standing in the distance realized he wasn't walking away tonight. Before we continue, thank you so much for watching and supporting these stories. It truly means more than you know. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a second to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another episode. Alright, let's get back to the story. Rain wasn't supposed to fall tonight. The evening briefing board still said clear weather, the kind of quiet night shift that rookie officers prayed for and veterans didn't trust. But the city had its own moods, and by midnight the sky had opened up, soft at first, then punishing. A cold, relentless curtain that swallowed the streets in silver. Officer Elena Ward tightened her jacket and stepped out of her patrol car, her boots splashing into a growing puddle. She swept her flashlight across the empty lot of an industrial district rarely used at this hour. Dispatch had flagged a call. Possible break-in, disturbance, unknown number of suspects. Alone. Because her backup unit had been diverted to a different emergency. She should have waited. She should have called it in again. She should have done 100 things differently. But Elena Ward had always been brave to a fault. And she had something to prove tonight, though no one else knew it. No one except Jasonstatham, her husband. Not the public. Not the department. Not even most of her colleagues. To them, Jason was just a private security specialist, a former soldier who settled down. They didn't know his file was sealed. They didn't know the groups he'd hunted overseas. They didn't know why he avoided the spotlight. But Elena knew. And still, she wanted to wear the badge. She wanted to do good. Jason didn't stop her. But he worried. God, he worried more than she would ever know. That morning, the last morning he saw her healthy and smiling, she'd kissed him quickly before leaving for her shift. "You'll do great," he'd whispered. "I hope so," she'd smiled nervously. "Tonight's my first solo call." "Then be careful." "I always am." She was. Something moved in the shadows behind the warehouse, too fast to be the wind. "Elena to dispatch," she said into her radio. "I'm checking the east perimeter, possible movement." Static answered her. Not unusual in this dead zone. But it still made her gut tighten. She rounded the corner. Her flashlight beam caught something on the ground, footprints in the mud, fresh, heavy, leading toward a half-open door. "Anyone inside?" she called out. Silence. She stepped closer, slow, controlled, her breath fogged in the cold. That's when she heard it. A single footstep behind her. Her heart stopped. She turned too slow. A figure emerged from the darkness. Tall, masked, holding something metallic. The last thing she felt was the impact, sharp, brutal, sending her crashing to the ground as the rain hammered her face. She tasted blood. Her vision blurred. The masked figure leaned down. "Should have stayed home, officer." Then everything went dark. The call came in 30 minutes later. Jason was already on his way home from a consulting meeting when his phone buzzed. He answered without checking the caller ID. "Yeah." A shaky voice responded. "Yes, sir. You're listed as the emergency contact for Officer Elena Ward." Jason's grip tightened on the steering wheel, his knuckles bleached white. "Yes, why?" "There was an incident." His heart stopped. "What kind of incident?" "A violent one, sir. Officers are on scene. We need you to come immediately." Jason floored the gas before the dispatcher even finished reading the address. The world outside smeared into streaks of rain and neon. His pulse hammered. His mind raced through every terrible possibility, each one worse than the last. "Please be okay, please, please." He didn't feel the tears until they blurred his vision. By the time Jason's truck screeched to a stop at the crime scene, the entire area was lit with flashing red and blue. The street was blocked with cruisers, officers whispered, no one moved fast, which was already a horrible sign. Jason shoved the car door open and sprinted through the rain. "Where is she?" One officer tried to stop him. Sir, you can't." Jason shoved past him. Then he saw her. On the pavement. Lying on her side. Rain washing blood from her face in thin, red rivers. A paramedic knelt beside her, shaking his head. Jason felt the world crack. Yelena. He dropped to his knees beside her, pulling her into his arms as if he could breathe life back into her through sheer force of will. Her skin was still warm. That was somehow the worst part. "Baby, hey Elena, stay with me." His voice broke. "Please stay with me." Her eyelids fluttered. He froze. She wasn't gone, not yet. Barely conscious. Barely breathing. She struggled to speak. He leaned closer, forehead touching hers. What happened?" Jason whispered. Her fingers twitched weakly against his shirt. He grabbed her hand gently. "I'm here, I'm right here. Tell me who did this." Her lips trembled. With the last of her strength, she whispered. "Back of the warehouse, I tried to mark the floor." Her eyes rolled, her body slackened. "Elena." Jason shook her gently. "Elena, no, stay with me, stay with me." The paramedic pulled him back. "She's alive, sir. We need to move her now." "Don't you let her die," Jason roared. "Don't you let her." Two officers stepped between them as paramedics lifted her onto the stretcher. Jason barely registered anything around him. All he could see was her blood on his hands. All he could hear was her broken whisper. All he could feel was the crushing weight of helplessness and rage. When the ambulance doors slammed shut, Jason didn't cry. The shaking stopped. The grief hardened. Something colder, darker, sharper moved inside him. He stood still in the rain, water cascading down his face, mixing with the blood on his jaw. Then he turned toward the warehouse. One officer hesitated behind him. "Sir, where are you going?" Jason didn't look back. "To finish what your department failed to do." "But you can't." He stopped walking. When he spoke, his voice was ice. "Either try to stop me, or help me catch the bastard who almost killed my wife." The officer froze. Jason continued toward the warehouse like a man walking into war. And he was. Because the one thing the masked attacker didn't know, the one thing he couldn't have predicted, was that the woman he targeted was married to someone who had buried monsters far worse than him. Jason stepped through the half-open door. The warehouse was dim and cavernous. Echoes of dripping water bounced off rusting metal beams. The concrete floor glistened with rainwater dragged in by boots. Then he saw it. A smear of blood, Elena's blood, dragged along the floor. Not random. Direction specific. Leading somewhere. She hadn't been trying to escape. She'd been leaving him a sign. A message. A trail. Jason followed it, heartbeat steady now. Cold. Focused. Dangerous. Back of the warehouse. Just like she said. He turned the corner. And froze. On the floor was something small. Something metallic. Something intentional. A single bullet casing. But the base had been scratched, marked by her fingernail. 2 letters carved into the brass. RF. Jason knelt, lifting the casing between his fingers like evidence in a murder trial. He whispered the initials aloud. RF. Recognition hit him like a punch. He knew those initials. Everyone in Jason's old world did. And there was only one thing worse than finding out this attack wasn't random. Finding out Elena was targeted because of him. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating his face. His expression changed completely. No grief. No fear. Only promise. A deadly one. Jason stood, pocketed the casing, and walked back toward the exit. His jaw clenched. Muscles tight. Eyes burning with one purpose. He wasn't just going to find the man who hurt her. He wasn't just going to hunt him. He was going to dismantle his entire world. Piece by piece. Name by name. The rain poured harder as he stepped outside, and the night swallowed him. And behind him, unnoticed, someone watched from the shadows. A silhouette unmoving, as if waiting, as if expecting Jason to follow the trail. The smell of antiseptic never really leaves you. Jason had smelled it in too many countries, too many field hospitals. But this time it was different. This time, every beeping monitor, every hurried footstep down the hallway felt personal in a way that made it hard to breathe. They wheeled Alina past him on a stretcher, tubes and blood and pale skin under two bright lights. One of the paramedics had to push Jason gently back. "Sir, we've got her. Let us work." He stood there, drenched from the rain, fingers curled into fists at his sides, watching the doors swing shut behind her. All he had left of the warehouse was on his palm, a brass casing marked with two scratched letters, RF. Her last act before she collapsed. He closed his hand around it, as if he could hold on to her willpower through that single piece of metal. A nurse guided him to the waiting area. "Mr. Statham," she asked softly, "if you sit, I'll let the surgeon know you're here." He didn't sit, he just nodded. Minutes blurred, or maybe it was hours, time lost its edges. He replayed everything he'd seen in that warehouse. The blood trail, the deliberate placement of the casing, those letters, Raven faction, a ghost from a life he tried to leave behind. He had fought them before overseas, in shadows, in operations where names were never written down. They trafficked influence, weapons, information. They didn't just corrupt, they infected. And now they had reached Alina. A door opened. "Mr. Statham." The surgeon stood there, mask off, lines carved deep around his eyes. "She's alive," he said first, because he knew that was the only word that mattered right now. "We repaired the damage, stopped the bleeding, but the wound was close to the heart, very close." Jason's shoulders sagged with relief and fresh fear all at once. "She's critical," the doctor continued. "The next day or two will tell us if her body can carry the fight. We've got her in ICU. You can see her for a moment, but she won't be awake." Jason swallowed. That's enough. He walked behind the doctor down the hallway, past doors with names and machines and lives suspended between before and after. When he stepped into Alina's room, it hurt. She looked smaller under the white sheets, swallowed by wires and monitors. The strong, stubborn woman who argued with him about leaving her mug in the sink now lay perfectly still, an oxygen tube at her nose, her chest rising and falling with mechanical regularity. He approached slowly. His hand trembled as he took hers. "Hey," he whispered as if she could hear him, "you're still here." Her fingers were warm but limp. He brought her hand to his forehead, closed his eyes. "You left me a message," he said quietly. "You knew you might not get to say it with words, so you scratched it into a bullet like the stubborn woman you are." He opened his hand and looked at the casing again. "RF? Raven faction," he murmured. "You dragged them into the light when they thought they were still in the dark." A knock sounded at the door. Jason didn't turn. "Yeah." Sergeant Hale stepped in, hat in his hands, uniform still damp from the night. "How is she?" Hale asked, voice low. "Holding on," Jason replied. "They don't know more than that yet." Hale nodded, then glanced at the casing in Jason's hand. "You sure about that, Mark?" he asked. "RF." Jason nodded. They used that signature on crates, on accounts, on the back end of operations they thought no one was watching. It's not random. Hale exhaled slowly. "I looked them up again after you left the scene. We've had whispers about them for years. Too clean for gangs, too dirty for business. Rumors about influence inside institutions, not just the streets. No names, just rumors." "There's always a name," Jason said quietly, "and someone inside who lets them move." Hale hesitated. "You think this started in our building?" he said. Jason finally turned to look at him. "You've been around long enough to know you can send an officer to hell or home with just one wrong key pressed in dispatch," Jason said. Hale winced. "Our dispatcher said she got a flagged call, possible disturbance, red tagged, came through an admin line. She followed protocol." "Did she log where that call came from?" Jason asked. Hale nodded. "Our tech guys can trace the origin, but if what you're insinuating is true." He didn't finish the sentence. Jason looked back at Alina. She trusted that call, he said. She trusted your system. She trusted the people above her. That's why she went in alone. Hale's jaw clenched. I'll pull everything, he said. Call routing, console logs, access passes. If there's a rot inside my station, I want to see it with my own eyes. Jason nodded once. I'm coming with you. Hale hesitated. You're not an officer here anymore, and your wife is. Fighting, Jason said quietly, and I can't help her with scalpels or machines. This I can help with. He squeezed Alina's hand one last time. Hold on, he whispered to her. I'm going to shake the place that did this to you until the truth falls out. Then he released her fingers gently and followed Hale out the door. The station at 2 in the morning felt different than during the day. Quieter, less polished. The fluorescent lights hummed a little too loud. Desks looked abandoned mid-thought, coffee cups half-finished, jackets draped over chairs like people meant to come back but never did. Hale led Jason down a narrower hallway toward the communications room. Inside, a young tech officer stared at multiple screens, eyes ringed with exhaustion but sharp. He straightened when they walked in. You the guy who wanted the call logs? He asked. That's him, Hale said, jerking his chin toward Jason. Show us what you've got. The tech clicked a few keys, pulled up a timestamp. There, he said. Call flagged at 22:43. Anonymous disturbance, industrial lot. It didn't come from a regular incoming node. It came through a direct internal line. Jason stepped closer. Which one? He asked. The tech swallowed. That's the thing. It's mapped to an admin console that sits in the upper office corridor, restricted access. Who holds clearance? Hale pressed. The tech pulled up a list. Deputy Chief, he said. 2 captains, 3 lieutenants, but... Jason leaned in. But what? The tech pointed to another column. This shows physical login. The console was active under one credential when the call was made. A name flashed on the screen. Hale's whole face seemed to age 5 years in an instant. Rowan, he whispered, you're sure? The tech nodded. Same ID number, same terminal. Unless someone cloned his access, it was him. Jason stared at the screen. He didn't shout. He didn't lunge. The anger he felt didn't come out like fire. It came out like stone. Play the call, he said quietly. The tech hesitated, then hit a button. The speakers crackled. A voice, flattened by a filter, came through. Suspicious activity at Delta Industrial Lot. Possible armed individuals. Local units should approach quietly, alone. Clipped calm, no background noise, no panic, no hint of risk in the tone. The tech paused the audio. That isn't a frightened civilian, Jason said. That's someone giving an instruction. Hale rubbed a hand over his face. We need more than this, more than logs and suspicion. You'll get more, Jason replied. You'll get what this station forgot it had, a line it shouldn't cross. Hale looked at him. What are you planning to do? Jason held his gaze. I'm not going to hit him, he said. If that's what you're worried about, I've seen enough back rooms and interrogations for 2 lifetimes. I'm not interested in turning this place into another one. Then what? Jason's answer was simple. I'm going to tell the truth, he said, out loud, where everyone can hear it. At 8 a.m. the station changed. Night shift officers dragged themselves off duty. Day shift officers walked in with travel mugs and half-awake expressions. The world outside started its routine. Inside, something else was building. Hale had quietly requested attendance for a critical briefing in the main room. Word spread quickly. By the time the clock hit 8:15, most of the department was there. Uniforms, detectives, admin staff clustered at the back. Rowan stood at the front, jaw tight, hands on the podium, ready to control the narrative. Thank you all for coming on short notice, he began. As you've heard, Officer Ward was gravely injured last night in the line of duty. Our thoughts are with her and her family. We will. Tell them how she got there, a voice cut in from the side. Heads turned. Jason stepped into the room, dressed in the same clothes from the night before, face drawn but steady. Rowan's eyes narrowed. Mr. Statham, this is an internal. She's my wife, Jason said calmly, And she wore your badge. That makes this my business." A murmur rippled through the room. Rowan tried to smile it away. "Of course, we all grieve with you, but right now we—" Jason didn't step to the front. He walked to the side, where the tech officer stood with a laptop hooked into the room speakers. "Play it," Jason said. The tech looked at Hale. Hale nodded once. The audio filled the room. Suspicious activity at Delta Industrial Lot. Possible armed individuals. Local units should approach quietly, alone. Silence followed. Not because they didn't understand it. Because they did. Rowan's face tightened. "That sounds like a standard anonymous tip. Tragic outcome, yes, but hardly." "Tell them where it came from," Jason interrupted. The tech swallowed. "It originated from the admin console in the upper corridor," he said. "From Deputy Chief Rowan's login." Every eye in the room snapped back to the front. Rowan's smile didn't return this time. "That's ridiculous," he said coldly. "Anyone could have tampered with my credentials. We'll investigate the breach." Hale cleared his throat. "We checked," he said. "Access logs, door cameras. You were alone in that office at that time, sir. No one else used that console." The room felt smaller suddenly. Jason stepped forward just enough so that everyone could see his face. "Alina trusted this station," he said quietly. "She trusted the voice that sent her into that warehouse alone. She trusted the system she believed she was part of." He lifted the casing. "She bled on concrete and still used the last of her strength to scratch a clue into a bullet casing. RF, she wanted you to know this wasn't bad luck. This wasn't a routine call gone wrong." He looked around the room. "Someone here used that trust to feed her to a group that doesn't care if you wear blue, black, or nothing at all." Rowan slammed a hand on the podium. "This is a grieving husband inventing conspiracies," he snapped. "Raven faction is a rumor. We have no confirmed." Jason's voice stayed calm, but it cut through Rowan's like a blade. "You had no confirmed attacks inside your own ranks until last night," he said. "Does that make the hole in her chest any less real?" No one moved. Hale took a slow breath. "Sir," he said to Rowan, visible pain on his face, "we pulled your emails too. 2 weeks of encrypted messages bouncing off offshore servers, all using a handle flagged in old intelligence notes tied to RF we cross-checked with federal databases. It matches." He held up a printed sheet. Rowan stared at it, then at Hale. "You're going to choose him over me?" he asked, nodding toward Jason. "Some ex-operator with a grudge." Hale's voice was tired, heavy. "I'm choosing the badge I pinned to my chest 30 years ago," he said. "The one she pinned to hers a year ago." He looked at Jason, then at the room. "You all deserve the truth," Hale continued. "We missed it for too long. We didn't see what was happening under our own roof." Rowan's composure cracked. "This is career suicide," he hissed. "You think the city will thank you for tearing down your own command? You think they'll understand the work we did?" "The work you did almost killed an officer," Jason said softly. "And you didn't even have the courage to point the gun yourself." Rowan took a step toward him, but Jason didn't move. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't raise his hands. He let the room see something else. A man who had run out of fear. Not because he didn't care if he lived or died, but because the person who mattered most was already lying between the two. "We can fix policies," Jason went on. "We can fix mistakes, but we don't fix rot by painting over it. We cut it out or it spreads." He looked at the officers in the room, every young face, every old one hardened by years of compromise. "She believed in you," he said. "She believed if she followed the rules, someone would watch her back, prove her right, start today." The words hung in the air. For a long heartbeat, no one moved. Then Hale stepped behind Rowan and removed the deputy chief's badge from his chest. Rowan flinched like it hurt more than the cuffs that followed. "For conspiring with known criminal elements," Hale said quietly. "For abusing your authority. For sending an officer into a knowingly compromised situation. You're under arrest." As Rowan was led out of the room, the shock didn't come from the fact that a man in command was being taken away in chains. It came from the realization that someone had been willing to call it what it was. Out loud. in front of everyone. Jason stepped back from the front, suddenly feeling the weight settle into his bones. He wasn't a cop here, he wasn't anyone's superior. But every pair of eyes turned to him, as if he was something else entirely. A mirror, showing them what they had almost become, and what they still had time not to be. He didn't give them a lecture. He just said one last thing. "If she makes it," he murmured, "she's going to ask what you did after she went down. Make sure you have an answer you're not ashamed to tell her." Then he left. That night, Jason was back in the chair beside Alina's bed. The machine still hummed. Her chest still rose and fell. The doctor had been honest. "She's not out of the woods," he'd said. "Her body is fighting. She may wake up. She may not. It's too soon to say." Jason sat in the dim light, fingers wrapped around hers, forehead resting near her shoulder. "They know," he said softly, "about the call about him. They arrested Rowan. You did that." Her face didn't move, but her monitor beeped a little faster for a second, as if somewhere inside her heart heard him. He smiled sadly. "You shook the station," he whispered. "You did, not me. I just carried your message where it needed to go." His voice thickened. "I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. But I know this. Whatever breath you get, whatever time we have, it's going to be spent in a world where the people who betrayed you had to look you in the eye and know you survived what they tried to bury." He squeezed her hand. A tear slipped free and fell onto her wrist. "Who hurt you?" he repeated, voice barely above a whisper. "You answered me with 2 letters scratched in brass and blood." He lifted her hand to his lips. "And I answered you the only way I know how," he said, "by making sure the people who wear that same badge either live up to it or lose it." The station would talk for months about what happened that day. About the deputy chief who fell. About the husband who walked into their briefing and cracked the silence wide open. But the person who mattered most wasn't there to hear it. Not yet. So Jason kept talking to her. Because hope, like justice, sometimes has to be stubborn enough to keep breathing. Even when everyone in the room is afraid to say whether it will make it or not.